Hi everyone, I'm Jenna and this is Learn Academic English. Here on this channel, I help English learners like you who want to take their English to the next level. In today's lesson, I'm going to be talking about exceptions to the past tense verb pronunciation rule. These are words that can trip up even the most advanced English learners. So first of all, hopefully you already know about the rule about regular past tense verbs and the pronunciation. We're going to look at just one example to review. So if we look at this example here, we have the verb look. When we add ed, we have to decide, are we going to add the sound t? Are we going to add the sound d, which is voiced? Or do we add another syllable, ed? The rule is that when the verb ends in a voiceless sound, meaning that there's no voice here, the k is voiceless, then we add the sound t. That means that this verb sounds like looked in the past tense. On the other hand, if it ends in a voiced sound, like in the verb hug, then we add the sound d, hugged. And if the verb ends in a t or d, like decide, then we add another syllable, decided. Okay, but we have a bunch of words that don't follow the rule. To be honest, there aren't that many words, but several of these are quite common, and if you make a mistake in it, it sounds kind of confusing and a little bit strange. So it's an important rule to know. Now, before we look at the examples, there's one important thing that I want to point out. That is that these actually are not verbs. These are adjectives. Now, there are plenty of verbs that are used as adjectives that do follow the normal rule, but these are examples that don't follow the pronunciation rule, but because they are adjectives, we can kind of give them a break and accept the fact that they don't follow the pronunciation rule for verbs. Okay, the first one is crooked. Now notice what happens. If this were a verb and if it followed the rule for regular past tense verbs, we would say crooked. But we don't say crooked, we say crooked.
Wilden was crooked. He was always crooked.
Crooked means that something is not straight, or it can be a person who has questionable ethics. Okay, the next one is legged. Legged can be used like a three-legged race, to use for the number of legs.
Pretty, the three-legged mouse.
And champion the three-legged dog?
Or bow-legged, for someone who has legs that are shaped like a bow. The next one is wretched. This is not a super common word. Wretched, it's a little more old-fashioned, but it has a negative meaning, and we don't say wretched. That actually is a different word. To retch means to vomit, and it's spelled without the W. And if we use it in the past tense, we would say wretched. But here, this is the adjective, has a different meaning, and it's pronounced wretched.
My wretched life.
She's wretched.
And the last one is beloved. My beloved grandmother.
Dearly beloved.
That's it, dearly beloved.
The next one is wicked. Wicked is not a verb, it's an adjective, and it's pronounced wicked, not wicked. We can use wicked for something that's very like naughty or evil.
Wicked.
Is it wicked?
Ragged, something that's old, falling apart. Ragged.
Round the ragged rocks the ragged rascal ran.
And finally, naked. Now notice that these are adjectives. There is no verb form for these. And then the last ones I'm going to show you are much less common, but you can hear them sometimes. The first one is aged. Now this one is tricky because we have the past tense verb aged and the adjective aged. And Aged and aged can both be used as adjectives. However, in this meaning, aged, it means like it's usually used to describe an old person, an aged man. But this is quite old-fashioned and it's not used very often. Think about like a fine aged wine or an aged cheese. We would just use aged. But here, aged can be used to describe an elderly person, but again, it's not common. The next one is learned. Learned. Learned is an adjective to describe someone who is educated. This is not used very often nowadays, but if you watch a movie that's set in the past, you might hear the word learned. Next, we have the word blessed. Like aged and aged, blessed and blessed are both adjectives. You can say, my family is blessed, or we can use the adjective blessed, but that one is used to describe a noun, and it's usually used in a religious context. For example, the Blessed Sacrament. That's something that you might hear at a church.
Join us in the blessed sacrament that is.
And finally, dogged. Dogged is not a common word, and dogged means with stubborn determination. For example, dogged competitor. It's a person who is like really competitive, really determined, and doesn't give up.
But yet Republicans are dogged in their attempt to try to repeal that legislation.
But as I mentioned before, these are not very common. However, you will hear them every once in a while, and if you decide to use them for some reason, you're going to want to pronounce them correctly. I would love to hear from you in the comments below if you already knew about these words, and if you have any other questions about adjectives like these or other pronunciation questions for me. Please don't forget that I offer memberships and I teach online classes. If you would like to improve your English with me, please check the description box below. And I hope to see you back here again very soon. Take care.